welcome, guys. I'm happy to invite you into my home. I'm sorry it took a pandemic for me to have you over, but
Well,
I'm happy you're here. Are you guys at home right now?
no, I'm at I'm near my home. I'm about 20 minutes from my home. We live down valley from Telluride, Colorado.
Oh, beautiful. All right.
Yeah.
This is
Rich?
definitely not my home, and this is definitely not my copper, whatever, palm tree. But
I was going to say
in-
your interior decorator is fantastic.
Yesterday,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
kept asking Rich if his masseuse was going to lay him down behind that screen on that fur rug or whatever and give him
You
a
get
rub.
some pan flute music in the background, right?
Absolutely.
So, I thought I would start, guys. I wanted to share a story with you. This is a fairly significant moment in my life that has to do with your band. This goes back to the summer of 1996. So it's like Three Snakes, One Charm tour, right? Black Crowes are coming to play in town. And I want to go to the Black Crowes concert for two reasons. One, Black Crowes fan, obviously. Two, there's a girl that I'm interested in who's going to this Black Crowes show with a group of her friends. I'm 17, 18 years old at this time, right? So, but I'm broke. Like I don't have 2 pennies to rub together. I'm working for like $4.25 an hour doing like weekend overnights at the radio station, right? Maybe an occasional like sponge CD or something.
It's called an apprenticeship, I think.
That's right. So I do what any hormone-driven red-blooded American would do in my situation. I give plasma to raise money to buy tickets to go to the Black Crowes concert. But there's a happy ending to this story. So I get the tickets, I go to the show, I see the girl, I date the girl, I marry the girl.
See, that's a great story. I thought I thought the story was going to be like, I gave blood. I didn't have enough blood. I drank, I took some mushrooms, I threw up. I never saw the show. Right. I went to jail.
Right. I forgot to eat the cookie afterwards. I passed out. I hit my head, It was a good story. I did get pulled over on the way back from the Black Crowes concert that night, but there nothing bad came of that.
Nothing bad happened in the 90s.
Nothing bad ever happened in the 90s. So how's your apocalypse been? How was your 2020?
Yeah, I'm over the apocalypse personally, but the thing is, and I've said it, and I've talked to my friends. I've had amazing days, like joyous. I have the best wife in the world. Camille and I we moved to Colorado, but our friend, people in our world, some experiences, incredible. And then I've had some days where I don't think I could get out of the bed. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
But that was the Three Snakes tour as well. So, just kidding.
Rich?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty intense. I have 5 small children at home, so it's like chaos every day. But the good thing is I've been with my daughter, who's 2.5. I've been pretty much with her every day of her life, which I can't say that about my other kids. You know what I mean? And so in that sense, it's been pretty amazing to be home every day with them,
Is that is it one of the upsides of this awful year that we've had, just being able to spend that quality time with family? Because you guys would have been on tour last year, right?
Yeah, we would have been on tour. That would be an upside, but for a lot of reasons, this year has been kind of psycho, and luckily one ended on the 20th. So now we can
thanks in large part to your home state.
Yeah, exactly. I was proud of them, actually. I was like, wow, all right, step up.
So are we just hitting the reset button here for what was supposed to be 2020 and 2021? It seems like everything was gearing up there at the beginning of the year, and then we kind of hit the brakes in March.
I think it is. Yes, definitely. But I do think it is funny, like for the first time in what the Black Crowes could be, we had a great plan. We're surrounded by people who really care about Rich and I, not just as something to make money, but as people and what we've all been through together, and like, wow, this is going so great. We have this production this never sold. You know what I mean? Like all these things like leading up to this. it wouldn't be a normal cycle. It was very special. And I think it's still going to be very special. But because of that, I don't think there would be any reason to deviate from any plan that we had in terms of what, Rich and I's world looks like, putting our band back together and seeing where it goes, like taking it a bit at a time, which we never had the luxury,
Sure. Did you, at what point was it last year? Did you realize you were just going to have to hit the brakes on all this? It seems like there was two camps last year, and it really depended on what time of year their plans were. There were folks that were going to kind of wait and see how this played out and try to keep stuff on the calendar. And then there were other folks that just said F it early on, and they realized this wasn't going to be there.
I mean, I was in Marin County, and when lockdown started, I was like, oh, we're not doing anything for a while. I mean, and the reality as well is our country is, if you know anything about history at all, 400 years really isn't very much, but it's starting to be enough that you have to deal with a lot of issues, a lot of cultural issues, social issues. And I think overall, I'm not a conspiracy person, but I pretty much knew that if something like this happened, that the people in charge of us, even some of the ones that we might trust or not like the white supremacist crowd we're trying to get rid of, but that our leaders dropped the ball. And you know what I'm saying? That you'll never hear anyone apologize. You'll never hear an actor say they shouldn't have taken the role, and you'll never hear a politician apologize. But it's weird, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm fine with that because I never had any trust in a place whose educational system is trashed, whose, all these systems are falling apart. But when you look at that, it's like, oh, wow, nice. Again, people will take care of each other,
Right. So when you started working on this, the 30th anniversary for Shake Your Moneymaker, did you guys personally start digging through all of the old archives? Is there piles of Black Crowes material laying around, or was this like personal stuff you guys had stuffed away in the attic that you started going through when you started working on this?
It's a little bit of both, I had a bunch of personal stuff at home, flyers and cool stuff, but as far as the vaults go, there was a lot of stuff in there. And George Zakulias and I really kind of delved in a little bit deep and got to go through a lot of it. It was really cool. But we do have piles of stuff over piles of years that's kind of, pretty amazing. We were always going into the studio. I think we went into the studio several times between Shake Your Moneymaker and Southern Harmony, between Southern Harmony and Amorica, and so on. Even on Three Snakes, we did like some cool sessions in Richmond, Virginia. You know what I mean? So there was just places all over that we'd go into the studio and record.
Did you unearth anything where you're like, oh my God, like where did that come from? I don't even remember that.
One of the things was that She Talks to Angels demo. We knew that, we had sent, Chris and I used to write these songs, and we would record them on his little boombox. I think it was a Panasonic.
Dual auto reverse, right? The nice
exactly. Dual auto.
Of course.
All the
fancy.
Stuff.
It's the one I started playing like Roger and Zapp and Prince cassettes. Sure. And then the next year later, it was just spray painted with Millions of Dead Cops and punk rock stuff on there. Yeah.
Right. Anarchy symbol on the speaker.
Black flag logo.
Right.
But we did, we'd sent George a version of She Talks to Angels it was just the first sort of draft, and it was without an intro or a bridge or anything. And I was really shocked that he found that,
Prior to announcing the reunion, I guess it was 2019, you guys hadn't spoken in quite a while. How do you get this back off the ground after a hiatus? Who calls who? How does that get started?
I think number one, not calling each other was good.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Right?
No, not the estranged element of that, but when we, you know, when we both found ourselves in a place where we were available, and I'd probably be more persnickety even in this occasion. Again, luckily my wife Camille she's good at like, let's look, you know what I mean? Let's be positive and look at this in a big scale. But I think, but not talking about all the little stuff that led us to being able to say, let's do it, was good. You know what I mean? Because our liaison, Rich and I were agreeing on every single thing. You know what I mean? Like every single issue that came up before. And then we didn't even really talk on the phone. And we talked when we saw each other in New York at a hotel lobby, which we didn't even know we were staying in the same hotel, which is really funny. But you know what? I wouldn't, you know, I think we live in a place where, you know, in a media sense or a cultural sense, family and things, they look like they're supposed to be laid out in some episodic, you know, fashion, and or that people, and you know, if we know anything, families are just strange, you know. And Rich and I, our family's weird. I'm weird. Rich is weird. Our life together in rock and roll has been, you know, nothing is what it would seem on the to somebody who was like had a normal way of going about their life. And by the way, I'm not talking about anything superficial like fame or riches or, you know, stuff like that. I'm just talking about just weird stuff. So for Rich and I to fall into place having this kind of protocol before we saw each other is kind of normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are in a good spot now. Great relationship.
I would, yeah. I mean, I would say great relationship because more than, you know, I understand, and I'm a man, so I can deal with it. I understand where I let my brother down over the years, where I really should have been his brother, but I wasn't his brother. Even if I thought my actions at the time were, you know, facilitating that. But by the way, that's kind of sometimes, you know, in the rock and roll is, especially those first 10 years, was mean. You know what I mean? Like you have to be tough. Rock and roll bands are like, you know, you leave your dead by the side of the road and keep on going. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, you know, it wasn't a sensitive place. It wasn't a nurturing place. I mean, I'm hardly pretending I'm not unimaginably sensitive and had my own negative or destructive ways of dealing with whatever, right? I mean, the best part about it is you're a creative, you're an artist. So you, for better or for worse, you almost osmosis, you envelop all the things you are because the people around you and the machine that you're running runs on a lot of emotional energy. You know what I mean? To be able to write songs that have emotional connection, no matter what that is, you know, through the music, the melody, the imagery, and then subsequently the recording and the performance and what that means and how that changes. You know what I mean? Sure. It's a lot.
Do you really get time to reflect on any of that when it's happening though? I mean, that stretch between Shake Your Moneymaker up through, you know, Three Snakes and beyond. I mean, do you even have a chance to come up for air and like realize what's going on?
No way.
Around you
no
ways?
No way. I don't think we ever had a moment, you know, we were either writing a record or touring, you know?
Yeah. Tour plans. Speaking of which, tour plans this year. I mean, what are people telling you? Are they saying this is going to happen in the summertime? Are you making plans? Are you kind of waiting to see?
We're making plans. I mean, we're supposed to be on tour. Everyone seems to think that that's possible. So that's really all we can do.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really, I can't really, if I start to think about it, then the snake that eats itself starts making me feel like it's never going to happen. And then I'm in like a negative place and I'm like bummed out because, you know, my skill set is limited in the workplace and, you know, it's not then.
Brother, I feel you.
I mean, it's not about, like I could open a pretty killer used bookshop and record store in our house, but I don't know if I want people in there. So yeah, we want it to happen, but you know what? The other thing that helps me is just realizing like, not just the people in our lives, but millions and millions of people have it so much, that's another thing our fear-driven occult trance corporate media doesn't show us is any sort of thing, what comes after, what happens when there's no jobs for all these people who are out of work, What I mean?
Yeah. One of the ways they say we're going to get there, of course, is the more people get vaccinated, the better. You guys on board to get the vaccine when it becomes available to you?
I mean, my punk rock side of me would say no, because but the bougie rock and roll side of me says that they're not going to let me go play in France or England or anywhere if I don't. They might not let you do it in here. You don't know yet,
Mm-hmm. Rich?
I agree with Chris. There's a lot of, it's hard to really trust these people. You know what I mean? Like but on the flip side, if you need a certificate to get on a plane, you're going to have to,
Sure.
So it's kind of a necessary evil, necessary. For
granted, which brings up a whole philosophical quandary about like what, about the whole thing, but there's a pragmatism, you know what I mean? And we're a fear-based, culture, you know what I'm saying? A guy tried to blow up a plane one time 20 years ago with a shoe, and we still take our shoes off to him.
That's true.
As an homage, you know what I mean? Right. That's a powerful symbol of fear. And the guy didn't even do a good job, but we're still dealing with this, and no one's done it afterwards. You know what I mean? So
we haven't found any more shoe bombs since then. It's true.
You know what I mean? I'm saying there's fear. I get it. There's things that, but and in terms of this, I understand it's just bizarro land, and we have to wear masks and deal with it and try to do our best. You know what I mean? I'm really lucky to live in the middle of nowhere on top of a mountain right now.
I get it, man. Hopes, dreams for this year, seeing as we're still at the beginning of the year? What would you like to see happen this year, personally or professionally?
Literally to be able to get out and play music. It's been, I haven't not played or traveled this much in over 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. I want linguine and clams in Sicily. You know what I mean? Is that too much to ask? I like to go to Sicily.
I don't think so.
I want to go to Jamaica and see my friends. It's all, I want to, like Rich said, though, it is, I thought for a while, and like I said, I have moments of great clarity, but then it's like, wow, man, we play music. I like playing music. I like singing. You know what I mean? I like, we've been writing, and that's nice, but it's, I like getting up there. I like putting that energy out and feeling some energy back.
Sure.
I'm excited about rock and roll. You know what I mean? And when I'm in the CRB years, we're doing something else. It's rock and roll, but it's not the rock and roll I'm feeling and I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And that, I think, it makes me really excited. You know what I mean? To be like, yeah, I almost, just when you think you forgot something, and then the wind stirs, and then it's back in your lap, and
sure.
But a lot of things in my life have been leading up to just, how much I love real rock and roll music, and that's what the Black Crowes, in their essence, what we really do. It's what made us, which it's funny that now that I'm older, I really don't understand some of the flack we received for being the kind of band we were. You know what I mean by that? It was we're on the cover of Rolling Stone. It says, "What's so bad about the Black Crowes?" As if what we were doing. You know what I mean? But you can come a few years later and be in Green Day and wear creepers and look like 1977 London, but that's cool. But like what you're doing is not cool. You know what I mean? Like,
I was thinking about this today, and I've always loved your band, and I get what you're saying. So in 1990, I think, so what is it like Motley Crue is riding high on
Guns N' Roses, the biggest
Guns N'
band in the world.
Roses, right? And then a year later, it's whiplash to Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and somehow the Black Crowes, this straight up badass rock and roll band, falls right in the middle of that and kind of takes the world by storm. Was it because maybe you were sort of the odd man out at that point?
Well, oh yes, I think that's been the story of the Black Crowes the entire time.
And is that necessarily a bad thing?
I think in terms of rock and roll, it's a great thing. I mean, and if we're that band, I mean, we did far better than like the Flaming Groovies, or you know what I mean, or whatever.
Cheetah Wheelies.
But you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I mean, we also, when you're not, you know what I mean? Like, what were we supposed to do? You know, like we kind of put all the hair metal bands say Nirvana made our careers go away. And I'm like, well, not writing good music and just only being about your leather clothes, maybe help that along. But the reality is the Black Crow, I mean, looking back, our sound was very unique. Just in terms of a Southern rock band that played really English things, like our Shake Your Money Maker's really English record, Our guitar tones were not, they were classic, you know what I mean? They were, wow, that's what Rich's guitar sounds like, what a guitar is supposed to sound like. And we didn't hear that in a lot of the music that we loved. We only heard the kind of guitar tones and things that we thought were rad, textural things that we really couldn't even describe to you why we attached ourselves to them, were things like Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood, Mick Ralphs and Mott the Hoople or whatever, like something that, and the other thing is it made us different from grunge music and the metal music was Black music. You know what I mean? We had a lot more Black musical influences. Some of them, most of them very subtle. They would show themselves in later records, but that's a big difference, and that's part of our connection to roots music that, as much as we love the Stones and the Faces, we also love Fats Domino and Chuck Berry and the Everly Brothers. And you know what I mean?
I feel like we could probably do this for another hour, but I think they're going to make us wrap up. Well, so they're telling me that tickets are on sale for the tour. It starts in June, and as far as I'm concerned, I am hopeful and positive that this is going to happen this year. And damn it, guys, I'm so looking forward to seeing you. And getting out of the house and drinking a $14 shitty light beer out of a plastic cup at a Black Crowes concert.
Come on, you live in Seattle. That doesn't happen anymore. It's like you can only get like some cool like this.
Oh no, we'll get a local Pacific Northwest IPA, and it'll be $22, and you have to let it rest for 5 minutes after.
And every one of them comes with,
appreciate it.
Everyone comes with a single seagull's tear in it, or something.
just one that was free range and organically raised. The seagull, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and humanely milked of that tear. All right, so that went far enough. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. Nice to finally meet you. Big fan for a lot of years. I enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully next time we see each other, it'll be in person with that seagull.
Definitely. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks,
guys. Take care.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for all notifications from radio.com. While you're at it, why don't you check out some of our other great videos.